So we're back, of course, talking about some Final Fantasy VII. We're talking Ever Crisis. We're here to break down the new trailer we got last night. My initial plan was to look over like all the Ever Crisis shit that we got in the last like week or so, like the Glenn, Matt, Lucia like trailers and things like that. But this video's already pretty long. I don't know what it was last time I looked, but it's definitely like 12, 13, 14 minutes or some shit. And I had to like edit some stuff out, come back, re-record this intro and shit like that. So yeah. Also retroactively having to come back and add this to the video because I forgot to talk about it, and I was almost going to put it at the end of the video, but it needs to be earlier in the video. But we did hit the 1.5 million milestone for pre-registrations for Ever Crisis, and they did clarify that the voucher you get is you get to choose an outfit, which I was right on that, so that's pretty cool. As you can see right here, we get to pick an outfit between everybody, right? Cloud, Barrett, Tifa, Aerith, Red 13, Zack, Glenn, Matt, Lucia. Any one of those outfits, I'm assuming, maybe there could be more, but at the very least, we probably get to pick one of these. Also, they revealed what that secret milestone was finally, which is 7.7 billion blue crystals split between players, but it's only for download stuff, not the pre-registration shit. So it's like the first 3 days of downloads, it's going to be split between the players, but there's only a maximum of like 1,500 crystals per person, and I think the only way we wouldn't receive that is, if I'm doing the math correct on it, to exceed like more than 5 million downloads for us to get like less than 1,500 crystals a piece or some shit, which is probably not going to happen. I mean, we're about to launch the game and we're only at like 1.5 million like pre-registrations, so I doubt that we're going to get like 5 million downloads in the first couple of days. So we should all receive this. It's great. This is a currency in the game. You can spend it on like the shop, on like pulling gear and things like that. I know in the past I talked about the secret milestone being a character, but I keep forgetting that you earn characters throughout the game, and there's not going to be like characters in the shop and stuff like that. So it makes sense that it's a bunch of crystals they're going to give us, which is great. So kind of a quick follow-up to yesterday's video where we talked about the pre-orders for FF7 Rebirth. Even as I uploaded the video, people were commenting about other websites. There was like EB Games Australia, and then like a little bit later, somebody mentioned like game.co.uk had a Rebirth for pre-order, and today Warrior64 tweeted out there's like Target and Amazon as well. So we're starting to get a lot of the big hitters that are in there, right? Best Buy, Target, EB Games, Amazon, all that shit. So I don't know. Seems like something is going to happen relatively soon, hopefully. First off, when it comes to Ever Crisis, we're going to hop into the trailer that dropped last night. We're going to break it down. For the most part, we're going to try to break down everything, but we're not going to cover every frame of this shit because some of it's old. Like we see Zack fighting Ifrit in, Ever Crisis form again. We've seen that in almost every fucking trailer. We see like Zack fighting the two like the almost twin monsters that are like the beginning of Crisis Core kind of over in like Fort Tamblin or whatever. Like we've seen that in almost every trailer too. Like, so not everything needs to be discussed. So the trailer opens up with a high quality cinematic where we're seeing Glenn, Matt, and Lucia fighting this new group of people. I don't know if we know the name of this place yet, this island, this town, this group of people, whatever. But then we see a young Sephiroth dropping down from the sky from the helicopter to, I suppose, probably murder everybody. So I think this new group of people look pretty damn cool, like design-wise, the aesthetics, whatever you want to call it. You do see subtitles at the bottom of the screen. There is commentary over the trailer at the beginning and the end. It does appear to be older Sephiroth because they do name drop Cloud at the very end of the trailer. We do also get subtitles later on whenever young Sephiroth talks and like this new little boy character from this like village or town or whatever. We then get kind of a weird scene where we're seeing like white feathers falling, and Glenn like actually put an emphasis on the white feather falling, but the camera pans up and it's just a bunch of birds flying around the helicopter. But then you also get Sephiroth like coming out of the sky and landing, and feathers kind of falling around him. But all this kind of feels like kind of a weird allusion to the Rebirth trailer where they put a lot of emphasis on like a white feather. And I might just be looking too much into it, but I know we've talked about with this trailer the white feather being symbolic of either Aerith, Zack, or Angeal, but seeing Sephiroth associated with white feathers now, I'm not entirely sure. Now, it could just simply be with the Ever Crisis trailer that, like, it's symbolic of, like, young Sephiroth is still a good guy, so white feathers. Later on, he's a bad guy, so black feathers. It could just be simply that. It has nothing to do with the Rebirth trailer. This part of the trailer does give us a good look at young Sephiroth. Just want to put a bit of emphasis on the leg armor, the greaves. I just think it kind of looks cool. We then get a really good look at young Sephiroth's sword, which, as we've talked about in the past, I don't think it's his iconic sword. I could be wrong on this, but we're going to pause and kind of compare for a second. First up, we do see materia clearly on this weapon, which, again, it might be a completely different sword anyways. There were people that are kind of surprised by this, if it is his iconic weapon, to have materia slots on it, but that's not actually dissimilar to the original Final Fantasy VII, right? You can check Sephiroth's gear during Calm Flashback, and he clearly has materia slots. Now, I'm not sure if Sephiroth's ever meant to have materia in his sword when it came to the remake project. We don't ever see that on his character model, but maybe it's there and they just didn't do it, didn't model it for some reason, I don't know. Now, the sword, or katana, whatever you want to call it, that young Sephiroth has is still quite big, obviously, but the one that he has in Remake is like cartoonishly big. It's estimated to be anywhere from like 6 to 8 feet long, and the one that young Sephiroth has in the trailer has like a sheath or a scabbard, and he can wield it on his back, and like you clearly couldn't put like remake Sephiroth's Masamune on his back. Even though he's tall as shit, he ain't that damn tall. Plus, at the end of the scene, you can actually see like the tip of the scabbard kind of near Sephiroth's knees, bottom of the screen. So it's clearly nowhere near as long as like remake Sephiroth's sword. We're doing a lot of shit here for this sword, but I just want to put emphasis on the fact that it does appear to me to be a different sword entirely. This is all important to me though, as I've talked about a few times on the channel, is I want an origin story for his sword, because I do believe the sword itself is like strong, powerful, magical in nature. I don't know exactly. They've never given us anything on Sephiroth's history outside of the Genova cells whenever he was being conceived and shit, right? And the sword itself, like where does the sword come from? He's got this ridiculously massive fucking sword that is so goddamn impractical, and he doesn't have a fucking sheath for it, so he can make it manifest and shit. Like, I feel like it has magical nature to it. I don't know entirely, but hoping that that's what the story gives us. We then get to see some iconic moments from the original Final Fantasy VII, like Sephiroth and air quotes Cloud in the Mount Nebel reactor. We get to see our group fighting Motorball, and he is called Motorball for some reason because they changed his name in Remake, but in this version, I guess, his name's back to being Motorball, and then we get to see, you know, Aerith and Cloud on the park slide thing. We then get a pretty good look at one of Aerith's new outfits, which nothing's wrong with it. It's just kind of generic. It's just like a pink and white dress. Like, Now, there are new character outfits before this moment with the Motorball fight. You can see new outfits for Barret and Red 13, but we get a better look at those outfits later on in the trailer. From there, we get to see Cloud, Tifa, and Aerith threatening Don Corneo, the iconic scene where they threaten to cut off his balls and everything like that. But as we know from the closed beta test, we don't actually go into the sewer after this and fight Abs, which kind of sucks. We then get to see the Specimen boss fight from the Shinra building, which I don't know if we've seen this in other Ever Crisis trailers, but he looks great. Just looks like a smaller version of the remake counterpart. We then get to see the scene of our group breaking out like Red 13 and Aerith, and Red 13 attacking Hojo, which is something I'm glad they changed when it came to Remake, because whenever he goes to attack Hojo, Hojo stops him, obviously. Because, like, realistically, he would have killed Hojo in that moment, right? Hojo experimented on him, treating him like shit, etc., etc. He probably just bit his fucking throat out. We then get a really good look at Red 13's new outfit, which is, like, aviator-themed with, like, the bomber jacket and, like, the aviator helmet with the goggles on top. I don't hate it, I don't love it. It's definitely unique. I don't know how much designs they can do with like a feline-esque character, but it's something. We then see the Shinra squad having the boardroom meeting. We see our group breaking out of the Shinra building, getting to the end of the highway, and then we get a glimpse of Barrett's new outfit, which just looks so damn good. Now, admittedly, it's not like a super in-depth design, but when I first seen it, the first thing I thought of was Iron Man, obviously slowing down the trailer and kind of breaking it down. He's not fully covered in the bright-ass metal like armor or whatever, but it does remind me of something like an exosuit. Got me thinking of like Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. I think Barrett's in the conversation for some of the cooler designs that I've seen in Ever Crisis. This isn't my favorite of his. He has a way better one we'll probably look at some point. We then get to see our group at the end of the highway, which is kind of like a recreation of like the key art that we have because of all the colors in the sky and shit like that, which is something we didn't get in Remake. We have the key art for the end of the highway, but we never actually got to see it. Because obviously when it came to Remake, our group goes through the portal at the end of the highway into the Singularity. All of Chapter 18 happens, and then we're at the cliff outside of Midgar. So it's kind of nice to see the end of the highway scene kind of recreated. We then get a pretty good look at Tifa's new outfit, which obviously the Tifa stands are going crazy for. It was pointed out too on Twitter, I've seen people talking about that it might be like an outfit sort of based on like the feathered gloves she has in Remake, which obviously had white feathers on them as well, which is kind of a cool idea. We then get to see Zack fighting Wu and Tai, and obviously we've seen this a bunch in the trailers, but Zack is rocking a pretty cool looking sword that I don't quite recognize. We then get to see Zack and the Aether fighting again, who gives a shit, but when we get to the actual fight segment, like Zack's outfit might be my favorite so far. Like my boy's rocking this like robotic suit, this like Gundam inspired outfit. I don't know, this armor, he's got like a cape on and everything. This just looks so fucking cool to me, man. By far my favorite outfit so far in Ever Crisis. It's kind of hard to get a really good quality image of his outfit in this moment because the bitrate's kind of shit in this part of the trailer. But it's probably the best I could do right here from the back. You get a good look at the sword he's rocking too. I don't know if it's the same sword as the earlier segment where he's fighting Wu and Tai, but the fit and the sword just looks so fucking good. And if we could take a closer look at the sword, it almost resembles a gun blade with like the curved handle. It almost has like the rounded part where the trigger would be and shit. Obviously, Zack's not using it as a gun blade, and depending on which game you're in, gun blades don't even shoot anyways, but that's just kind of what it looks like to me. We then get some first soldier stuff, and Lucia mentions them being Soldier P0 class, which is Project Zero, obviously the first class of soldier. But then she says passive model class P0, and I don't even know, I can't begin to know what that means. When they get to see this young boy and his dog that helps our group, and according to the synopsis that's on the Final Fantasy Wiki, I guess maybe this comes from the closed beta test or something, but the dog's name is Rifu. We don't learn the boy's name, I guess, yet. But the boy's apparently a Radoran, which is either the name of his people or maybe like the town or the island or something that's around here. I don't entirely know. We then see our group attacked by this like aquatic monster. We do see this thing a few times throughout this trailer, actually. Here we get to see Lucia in like a kind of cool outfit. It's just sort of generic, just a hat and a hoodie. But the way she sits down to like snipe with this attack, I don't know why, just pretty fucking cool to me. We then get to see Matt's new outfit too, which we've seen all three of these outfits before because we're going to get to see one for Glenn as well. If you've been like keeping up with like the marketing the last week or so, they have shown these outfits off, but I don't know if we've seen them in a trailer yet. I'm a big fan of this outfit for Matt as well. It's not like anything over the top crazy for like a Final Fantasy game, but it is nice looking, right? Like with like the dress pants, the button-up shirt, the tie, the vest with like the cloak over it and shit. Plus I'm a big fan of Matt's weapon choice, a combination of like a handgun and a sword, so you have some close range, a little bit of long range. I kind of like that. Glenn is dressed like a douchebag, so we're just going to move on. I do want to say, though, that in this moment, I think they're showing off each character's limit break because they're like cinematic-looking attacks, and we do see the name of Lucia's, which is Cerulean Raven. Here we're seeing a dungeon segment, which is where you get to actually control the characters and walk around. I don't recognize the cave, and we're controlling Glenn in the moment, so I assume this is taking place on that like new island that we don't really know much about. Apparently, this kid lives alone, but I assume that maybe like his parents are dead or his family's dead. The Redoran people obviously aren't wiped out, at least yet, because we do see our group fighting them earlier in the trailer. Or at least right now, I'm assuming that these people are called Redorans. These could be maybe a different group of people. I don't know. Glenn mentions that somebody's bound to be sad if the kid dies. So again, insinuating that like his parents are dead, family's dead, living alone, whatever. I do want to hop back briefly because we do see in these moments that Glenn, Matt, and Lucia actually have different outfits for their character models like in the world, but also during dialogue. So we're actually going to see them change outfits, which I think is pretty cool. I just find that kind of interesting just because like Cloud's outfit, when you're playing through like the Final Fantasy VII story, is probably always going to be the Cloud soldier outfit, right? Even when you're using like wacky costumes and things like that. I don't think it's like field models going to change, unless that is a thing. Unless like they have unique field models for every different outfit in the game, that would be pretty cool. I don't know if that's the thing though. We then see our group on a boat, I guess escaping this island, going to a different island, whatever's happening, but they're pursued by that aquatic monster that we talked about earlier. So again, it seems like we're going to maybe fight this thing multiple times, or there's multiple versions of it. Then at the end of the trailer, we get to see young Sephiroth talking to either this kid that we've been talking about throughout the trailer, or another person of like this group of people. I don't entirely know. I'm assuming it's a kid though. But Sephiroth talking about the people being too kind and it's going to get him killed one day does seem like he's worried about these people, which is good because we want young Sephiroth to be like kind of a good guy, right? Obviously he's doing bad shit in the name of Shinra, but me personally, I didn't want like the young Sephiroth story to show that he's like always been a bad guy or some shit. It needs to be like the Nibelheim incident and like the truth of his history and his past and how he's created. That needs to be what makes him a bad guy. Actually, now that I think about it, it's also possible that Sephiroth could be talking about Glenn, Matt, and Lucia here. It might not be about the people on this island. Because they're obviously, it seems like what we've seen in like the trailers and the dialogues and stuff, that Glenn, Matt, and Lucia are actually pretty good people. And maybe Sephiroth saying that it's going to get him killed one day, which, I mean, the fact that they're not in FF7 or, you know, supplemental materials that take place after FF7, I think it's a decent odds that they do get killed. And based on a previous trailer that we got for Ever Crisis, one of them might be getting killed by Sephiroth himself. But also, let's not ignore that in the background of these scenes, whenever Sephiroth is talking, there's just an absolute shit ton of like live stream or Mako coming out of the planet. This might be like, this could be a couple things. We know that our group is coming here to like maybe scout for like a Mako reactor location. Maybe this island just has an abundance of like live stream coming out of different locations. Maybe that's why they want to put a Mako reactor here. It's also possible that this place gets wiped off the map, like we've seen Shinra do a couple times throughout the compilation, throughout the history of FF7. This location, this island, we don't know anything about it based on original FF7 or anything else, so maybe it gets destroyed in like kind of like a Benora situation, where once Shinra bombed that location, you could see like an abundance of like Mako and or live stream, right? At the very end of the trailer, we have Sephiroth saying, "Now let us begin a new journey, Cloud." So if we take the whole narration from Sephiroth throughout the trailer, he says, "The live stream is the essence of the planet, a churning river of memories, knowledge, and emotions. As they come together and drift apart, a story is given shape, an unprecedented tale, another possibility. Now let us begin a new journey, Cloud." To that dialogue, I don't know if Sephiroth is talking to himself kind of out loud about Cloud, if he's talking directly to Cloud. I don't know where that conversation would even take place in the compilation itself. He is talking about, you know, the memories and live stream and new journeys and possibilities, and I know I don't get too deep into theories here, but obviously there's, you know, talk of like Sephiroth being from like the future in Remake essentially, or having like all the memories of everything that's ever happened and trying to create something new, and that kind of seems what this is sort of hinting at. And obviously Ever Crisis, even if it's retelling the compilation, is connected to Remake itself and shit. So I don't know. It's an interesting bit of dialogue from Sephiroth. Here's the thing that'll just about do it for the video. As with any sort of trailer breakdown, there's probably things that I missed or things that I intentionally just didn't want to talk about. You can let me know in the comments below. I think we kind of covered just about everything though. Ever Crisis looks great. I'm excited for it. I'm excited for this new Sephiroth story. It's gearing up to be something pretty interesting. I do want to see what happens with Glenn, Matt, and Lucia like as time goes on, whenever we go through like the first soldier story, because obviously I believe it starts with like the like cell phone thing and like Glenn and like Sephiroth about to fight, and then I think if I'm not mistaken, the Wikipedia says that like it flashes back like 15 years. Then we get like the first soldier stuff on the island and things like that, and young Sephiroth. So kind of curious how that all plays out and what ends up being the ultimate fate of Glenn, Matt, and Lucia. Even though I think I kind of know. I think it's time to wrap up the video, my dude. It's a little bit long. We've been recording for like 6 hours or some shit at this point. Your boy's voice is starting to go out a little bit. I'm starving to death over here. I'm dehydrated. What are your thoughts on Ever Crisis? Are you excited? I know some people aren't excited because it's like a mobile game or it's a gacha game or a combination of both those, and they want to play it on console, etc., etc. But you just gotta move past that. If you want to play it on like a PC, you can like emulate it probably on like BlueStacks or LD Player or something along those lines. But besides that, your only option is mobile. And I know some people don't like the mobile platform, but I do, man. I love being able to just like chill and kick back, like throw on something on the TV and just like play something mindlessly. And mostly what I'm excited for is to have something FF7 that I can do pretty much every day of my life for the foreseeable future while we're waiting for like Rebirth and eventually while we're waiting for the third game and shit. Just having some FF7 constantly in my fucking life. That's why I'm excited. Do my dudes, subscribe to me if you guys are new. Social works in the description below. Follow me on Twitter, @DaveYT. That's it. Bye.
さあ、新たな物語を始めようか。クラウド。
Used to care what people thought, but now I care more, and nobody out here's got it figured out. So therefore, I've lost all hope of a happy ending, depending on whether or not it's worth it. So insecure, no one's perfect. We spend it with no shame. We blow that like Coltrane. We in here like Low Gain or leave it like Cobain.